Hi there, Malcolm here with my 188th Booktube video, and today I'll be bringing you a story-by-story review of Predator: Eyes of the Demon, collected by Brian Thomas Schmidt. My third ever Booktube video was my story-by-story review of If It Bleeds. Oh, bless him. A video that's done pretty well for itself, for me anyway. It's ticked over quite happily. So I thought I'd come full circle and break down Eyes of the Demon. First up is The Titans by Tim Leben. I quite enjoyed Tim Leben's writing, and I did like his The Rage War trilogy of Alien vs Predator, so he has got plenty of experience in the genre. And the story follows Jeremiah Beck, who's a survivor of a predator attack from decades previously, and the predator that failed to kill him last time has come back to try again. Quite a fun little story of not necessarily revenge, but certainly closure. It did end in a rather inevitable conclusion, but I enjoyed the ride on the way there. Next up, The Distance in Their Eyes by Stephen Graham Jones. This was a really interesting take, where we follow a predator as it lands on a planet and massacres the inhabitants of a village, who give no resistance whatsoever, only for the predator to find out later on, too late, that there's something special about these beings, so they get the last laugh. Yeah, I quite enjoyed the twist of this one. I really didn't see which way this was going. There were a couple of hints, but I really was guessing what was going to happen, and the end result was quite fun. Aftermath by Brian Thomas Schmidt. And this is a direct sequel to the original Predator film, featuring Dutch, Arnold Schwarzenegger's character, after he's been taken away in the helicopter and all shell-shocked from the experiences he's been through. He's recuperating in hospital when these two chaps pop up and want to find out everything they can about this creature, which feeds nicely into their characters in Predator 2. There's also a nice nod to Dutch's brother, who features in the Predator graphic novels and novelizations of the graphic novels. So this story does a nice of tying together the first film, the second film, and some of the written work as well. The story itself was quite fun and leaves off in a nice position for further tales to be told, potentially. It's a nice complement to everything else without stepping on any toes. Next up is Proving Ground by Linda D. Addison. This sees two teams of predators land on Earth to try and prove themselves worthy, only for the actions of a slightly overzealous predator to make everything come undone. Now I should mention that there's been effort to try and increase the female representation in these books, and we follow a female predator as she leads her wars on this quest. Now, of course, the canonical material is somewhat vague as to the role of female predators in the Predator universe, and so there's no reason why female predators can't gear up and go hunting along with the guys as well. Again, the story plays out quite nicely. A little bit truncated. I know it's a short story, but this one does seem to be wrapped up rather quickly. But on the whole, I enjoyed it. Next up is Lion of the Himalayas by Amar Habib. And this is a slightly similar feel to Tim Leben's The Titans, where we have an elderly man who's seen a lot of loss, not through predators this time, through the actions of man, but when the predator turns up, we have a similar sort of encounter covering closure, but closure of a very different sort. And it's really nice seeing the predator story told from the point of view of a different culture, a different belief system. You know, a nice change from Marines with guns. A good story with a bittersweet ending. The Fix Is In by Jonathan Maberry. Now, one of the last stories in If It Bleeds was Game World, written by Jonathan Maberry, featuring the character of Fix as he finds himself in an arena fighting Predator. This is a sequel story, if you like, with the same character, as he's forced to sign up to a mission to go and capture some Predator technology. There's a crashed Predator craft to recover, and he's sent on a suicide mission with a bunch of other hapless idiots to retrieve it, only for nothing to be as it appears. It's really nice seeing a character again that I've encountered before. You don't need to have read Game World. There are enough references to what happened in that one, so you can read this one without having to read that one. But there's also enough in there to help remind you what happened in Game World if it's been a while since you last read it. Yeah, another fun one, and plays out in a slightly different way, which is quite nice. Bitter Hunt by Kim May is next. Now, there has been complaints about some of the novels and stories in the Predator universe where the predators act inconsistently. There's supposed to be some sort of hunter's honour. You know, they'll only kill you if you're holding a weapon, if you're a threat, if you're a worthy trophy. And yet, in some stories, they're slaughtering unarmed people left, right and centre without any qualms whatsoever, and people are complaining, that's not what the Predator does, it's not the honour of the system. And this addresses this one directly by saying, yes, there are some predators without honour, and this is what happens to those who flaunt the rules. So again, we follow a female predator as she hunts 3 rule-breaking predators who are dropped on a planet for her to hunt. So it's a bit of a sort of a Kill Bill scenario, and she hunts each hunter one at a time and takes them out, with a big twist about the identity of the 3rd hunter. Really good story, and like I say, it nicely ties up some of the complaints that people have about the inconsistency of various predator behaviour. Field Trip by Robert Greenberger is next, and this one sees a pregnant predator leading her wards on a hunt, but they crash on Earth right next door to a medieval reenactment camp. So there are humans to hunt, but they're wielding particularly primitive weapons, and although there would be an easy prey, there are an awful lot of them, and so the idea is to keep quiet. But of course, one of the young hot-headed students wants to get some trophies in and starts hunting just as the predator's waters break and labour starts. Certainly a predator aspect we've not seen before, and looks at the behaviours of humans and predators when put into situations that... really good. Cannon Fodder is next by Jeannie Koch. Now, in a similar vein to Bitter Hunt, this one sees disgraced predators being sent to a planet to try and regain honour by doing some proper hunting. The planet happens to be one where disgraced Marines are sent for punishment detail, and so we see a squad of female disgraced Marines up against a group of disgraced predators. There's a couple of extra twists in there as well, which make it a little bit more interesting. Not that it's not interesting already, but a really enjoyable tale. Again, felt a little truncated because although there's some effort to characterise some of the humans before they get killed, they're gone far too quickly. I feel like had we spent a little bit more time with them, we'd have felt their deaths a bit more keenly perhaps. But all in all, really good, with a fun ending. Little Miss Nightmare by Peter Briggs. And Little Miss Nightmare happens to be a terrorist. She sets bombs off at any public event going, just for the pure enjoyment of causing misery, mayhem and destruction. And we follow a predator on her trail to try and take her out, as this form of killing is seen as particularly distasteful, as well as following some agents who are also on her trail to try and arrest her or stop her. And a very fun conclusion to that one. Very different predator tale. The Trophy by A.R. Reddington. This follows a bounty hunter as she travels to a planet where a notorious mass murderer has been located. He actually had sent out an SOS, saying along the lines of, "Oh my God, help me, help me." And she turns up and a whole bunch of other bounty hunters are already there trying to get hold of the trophy, which is namely the perpetrator's head, only to find some expert trophy hunters are already there causing grief. Now this is quite a nice one in that our bounty hunter knows about predators. These aren't what's this mysterious invisible thing, am I seeing things, that whole shebang which we've had in other stories. No, she knows what predators are, although dealing with them is still tricky. It's not like she's facing the unknown completely. Yeah, quite exciting, fun little tale with another fun ending. Next up is The Monster by Michael Cogg. And this is a modern day story following a bunch of people going off into the woods of North America looking for Bigfoot, only to find something that's got big feet, but it's not what they were expecting. Now this one falls into the category of a dishonourable predator, and that it quite clearly is bumping off these characters who are not armed at all. But there's a big twist near the end which is arguably a little bit silly, but then we are talking about aliens from space coming down hunting humans. Bigfoot steps in to help protect our main character, and so there's a fight between a Bigfoot and a predator. So on one hand is pretty awesome, but on the other is pretty silly, but fun. Next up is Ghost Story by Joshua Pruitt. And this one reads a bit like a point horror type story where something awful happens to people about 50 years ago, and ever since there's been stories about a murderous ghost in the woods, and kids go to this campfire to tell each other these stories and to scare each other, but every now and again they go missing and found mutilated, and we follow a bunch of people who encounter the ghost. It's okay, again, a rather dishonourable type of predator, but a fun story. Then we have Slide Dark in the Daylight by Yvonne Navarro, another modern day one where a murderous predator is running amok in a small American town, killing people seemingly random. This one comes across more of like a sort of a Friday the 13th style slasher story. There's no rhyme or reason as to the targets. And of course the town start banding together with their guns to try and stop this menace. And the dishonourable nature of this hunt is directly addressed as well within the story, which is quite nice. And we finished off with Dead Man Switch by Scott Sigler, where a predator comes to visit a space installation where We have a bunch of scientists growing particularly vicious predatory type creatures, not xenomorphs, something else. But interspersed within the story are a whole bunch of protocols on how to behave when you're confronting a predator. Lie on the floor, disarm yourself, look as meek and helpless as possible, and you should be okay. Which was all fine until the predator turns off all the security locks for the animal pens, and these vicious creatures start running amok on the station. So nice little change to the tale on that one. So all in all, some pretty good stories in there. I think the worst one was enjoyable, so, you know, and my worst complaint is some of them are a bit short. But none overstay their welcome. It was nice seeing the character of Dutch again, and the nice variety of story types and points of view. Sometimes we're following the predators, sometimes we're following the humans, sometimes we're jumping between the two within the same story. Makes this a really good follow-up to If It Bleeds. And a push, I would probably say If It Bleeds had a stronger collection than Eyes of the Demon, but Eyes of the Demon is a perfectly good follow-up to If It Bleeds. I'm quite happy to have both in my collection. At no point do the stories feel repetitive, even repetitive to If It Bleeds. Worth buying. So there we go, that was Predator Eyes of the Demon short story collection. Have you read any Predator stories, short stories, graphic novels? Have you seen the films? Obviously I'm just talking about 1 and 2, anything beyond that is just not really worth it. Apart from Prey, if you haven't seen Prey on Disney Plus yet, I highly recommend that. Wow, that's a Predator film we've been waiting for. Comments below, as usual. If you have nothing nice to say, then please keep it to yourself. Thank you, and until next time, see you later.